bill to amend the Constitution and provide for diaspora voting a skilled second reading in the House of Representatives today. The bill, which was co-sponsored by the Speaker, Abbas Tajuddin, and Honorable Sadiq Abdullah, seeks to amend the 2022 Electoral Act and provide opportunities for Nigerians in diaspora to vote.
For an act to alter the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Cap C-2-3, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, to provide voting rights for Nigerians in diaspora and related matters, HB 1513. I so move.
There you have it. Yes, if you heard it right. The fact that if you're a Nigerian in Canada, in the United States, even in Ghana, in wherever part of the world you may be, opportunity for you to be able to cast your ballot for anyone you want in the next general election. That is the focus of that bill, skilled second reading and pass for constitutional amendment. Well, I'll speak now to the chairman of the House Committee on Electoral Matters, Honorable Adebayo Balogun. Thank you so much, Honorable, for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's some very interesting conversations around electoral reforms in Nigeria, and this is just one of it. And I know your committee with several other civil society organizations are already thinking on how we can make our elections better. Yeah. Can you give us an idea, including the fact that they are suggesting that general elections should be held in one day, single day general elections? Those are some of the conversations. But in your own sense, what are those critical areas that are pivotal or that will be very important for us in our electoral process?
Well, thank you, Sheung. Yeah, the three main objectives of the electoral reform that we are actually undertaking are: one, to ensure that all litigations are concluded before swearing in. Number two, to ensure a free, fair, and credible electoral process. And thirdly, to ensure an inclusive electoral system. Now, when you're talking about ensuring that litigations are concluded, we want to ensure that our laws are made less ambiguous, because most of the time, sometimes interpreting the laws sometimes brings in so much ambiguity, like what we have in the third of the states vote in Abuja. I believe during the next amendment we'll make sure it to be cleared out. And
that the position of FCT in our election, whether or not FCT has the status of the
states, yeah, it should be well spelled out. Sometimes maybe because of the way it's being drafted, some of these issues are becoming many.
So that is going to be declared in the amendment.
During the last election, it was also said that it wasn't a new issue. It has been cleared during Obasanjo's era, but probably there's something they still.
There are sufficient case laws to back all of that.
So we want to ensure that all other legislation too are so cleared, so that in a way that nobody sees any ambiguity in it. And we also trying to ensure that penalties, we are looking at the areas where penalties will be given to people that brings in frivolous cases when it comes to electoral matters, because we can no longer be wasting taxpayers' money on litigations that we know will not move. There are ruled out reasons where you can go, can pick up any petition, but nowadays you find out that people go for every reason, and at the end of the day we just waste our legal
time. I mean, just a moment, the one you mentioned earlier, which a lot of Nigerians will be very interested in, and which will go into the core of our constitution and in how it's been shaped, is whether or not all litigation can end, just like we saw in Kenya, before anyone is sworn in, because presidential election, for example, starts from the appeal court and ends at the Supreme Court.
Yes.
Now, so the proposition is that all of that will end, not as the president would have spent 3, 4, 5, 6 months.
That's I said, the objective is to ensure that all litigations are concluded before swearing in. So way to achieve is what I'm now reading out. That if you ensure that we have little or no ambiguity in the laws, these are things that cause some of the litigation. We penalize people who come with frivolous cases. reducing all litigations to 2 levels. Presidential is Court of Appeal and Supreme Court. Governorship is 3 levels. If we can also reduce that one to Court of Appeal and the Supreme Court. The legislative arm has already been Tribunal and Court of Appeal. And the one interesting thing is that why we have 2 levels in the legislative arm, you find out that the primaries, which is the pre-election matters, goes through to the Supreme Court. You find out that a case that has been concluded at the general election level is still pending at the pre-election matters. So we are going to ensure that we take that one to just to 2 levels.
What about
and pre-election matters must be concluded before the general election.
Are you weighing the option or looking at the Justice Ways Committee report, part of which also suggested Electoral Offences Commission?
Yes,
that will specially deal with electoral offences.
Yeah,
are you looking at?
No, the bill is on.
Is it being brought back?
Yes, it's been brought back. Yes, it was passed at the Senate the other time,
but it failed. It failed to say true.
At the reps, but we are looking at some of the issues, and it's going to be brought back this time around, and I think it's going to sail through.
What about diaspora voting? Are you optimistic about diaspora voting?
You see, under inclusion, like I actually said, when it comes to inclusion, we are looking at how do we ensure that PWD and all elderly people are actually captured. Diaspora voting is also one of the areas, but the issue with diaspora voting is, although we are still going to take it to for public hearing, is diaspora is not just America and Europe. Diaspora is every other African country,
including Ghana, including
Congo,
Cameroon,
all those everywhere. It's not just about pushing some of these things. It's about telling me how you feel is going to be workable. We are still dealing with the operational issues. You are still dealing with issue of having people having NIM numbers. If you don't have a NIM number, you don't have a proof that you're even in Nigeria. Many of those African countries, people live there without a passport, without a Nigerian passport. So those are some of these issues. If you are in America, you are in Europe, yes, before you go there, you have your passport. They know you are in Nigeria. And if you're talking about setting up polling units, how do you do it? So we need to talk about all this. When we go for public hearing, we'll talk about the workability of all these issues. And we're also even looking at how we'll be talking about early voting and voting by people on essential duties. Even inmates. Inmates to be talking about inclusion. We should be talking about all the people that are affected.
Early voting, like you have in the United States, where you can put your
the early voting is are people in Nigeria, not external people now. Not external people now. Yeah. The early voting is either you do early voting or you create another means of doing it, like they do in Liberia. In Liberia, if I've registered in Lagos and I've not posted to, maybe I have to work in Kano, I will be able to vote for the president, but I won't be able to vote for governor and the House of Assembly. But what we are looking at is, what you have in South Africa, a day before, 2 days before the election, they allow people on essential duties to go and vote. And the votes will be stored in a warehouse and not be counted on the day of election. During the last election, I was in South Africa too, there were incidents of attempts to break into the warehouse. And in Nigeria, for example, if, for example, Party A was winning when they counted the main vote for the day, and now you now go back to count the votes stored in a warehouse, and the winner changed, what do you think will happen? Especially if it is the ruling party that have actually won in the stored vote. So these are issues. It's about the trust deficit that we have.
How do we fix the trust deficit?
No, it's a matter of reorientation. It's a matter of reorientation. You see, on election day, no INEC permanent staff is involved in the election process. They are all ad hoc staff.
But again, you talk about trust deficit. Yeah. The question will be the issues relating to why Nigerians believe less or why Nigerians have problem in the process is also in the appointment of those who govern the process of our election.
I just said now, on election day, no permanent staff of INEC is involved. Those are the important areas.
It is important, but the question is that if a sitting government is responsible, the president is responsible for the appointment of an INEC chairman, appointment of national commissioners, appointment of the recs. These are looking already like
recommendation approved by the National Assembly, represented by every party.
Is there anything?
Every party.
Is there anything that you can do anyways to stop it? Because it's already appointed. Even if you appoint 3, 4, 5 presidents, the appointment is still coming from
the proposals in that area.
From a partisan point.
No, there's a proposal in that area which you're also going to consider that IPAC is proposing membership of other parties to be represented. You give maybe 2 or 3 major parties representation in the INEC.
There are also those who are proposing, Honorable,
Commission.
that why don't you publish INEC position just like you publish some other position? Because if it's an unbiased, it's supposed to serve as an umpire, and all the criteria is there for you to fulfill. If it's published, rather than have the president or the political party responsible for the appointment.
Like I said, these are options people are bringing. They are all going to be taken to for public hearing. And at the end of the day, is the wish of the people. You see, what INEC, the INEC will do whatever is given to it to be done by the law. Even we ourselves, by the time we make any amendment, it is the opinion of the people that matters at the end of the day. When you go for public hearing, and what we want to do, we want to have a very robust public hearing considering the electoral
published
reform.
So that a lot of people are aware.
In fact, our target,
put it on television, put it on the media, so a lot of Nigerians
our target is to ensure that we go to at least 2/3 of the states of the federation. 2/3. We are going to administer over 5,000 questionnaires per state, divided amongst all walks of life, so that by the time you are bringing in people, and there will be a lot of education on these issues before the public hearing, because some of these issues people get sentimental sometimes, they get emotional, and we don't really get to understand some of these issues. That's why we need the media. You see, we are talking about diaspora voting, for example, and every person will say, no, we need it, but you don't understand
what it means. So now, the big question here, Honorable,
and explain some of these issues to people, so that when you are making taking a decision, you are taking an informed decision.
Now, Honorable, time is also of the essence, and I pointed it out, and I was saying it to everyone that cared to listen, when the 2022 Electoral Act was passed into law. And I warned and I said, look, we're going to have major crises based on the new positions of the law at the time. And we had it. It went not only internal political party issues, which I pointed out, having read through the Electoral Act back to back, from page 1 to the last page, I read, and I saw that there were going to be problems with political parties not understanding the new position of the law. And I also said that there are going to be issues with general elections, the new positions of the law. Even some INEC positions were being faulted because of a lack of understanding of the new positions of the law. Now, my question here, Honorable, is that how are we going to be able to have the amendment of the Electoral Act early enough so that we can have good education on the new positions?
The middle of next year, we want to ensure that we get it signed. Middle of next year, signed.
That's
passed and signed by Mr. President.
So we have almost 2 years before the next election.
That's very, because education is very important. Most of the political parties do not even understand their own party constitution. Because these are areas where we want to go now. We must ensure that political parties understand their party constitution, the Electoral Act, and the Constitution of the Federal Republic. And we'll be advising that, look, you have legal officers in your party. This is no time you take Baba this or Baba that to be your legal officer. Get people who understand the law. Because every political artist have it from national level to state level to local government to the world level.
I mean, one area that
unfortunately we are not. Even some people still be talking about the way they did primaries 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Another act is coming, amendment is coming now. It might be different from what we had during the last election.
The education is now. The question about political party finances, is very critical. And there are those who believe that the kind of monies that go into our election are obscene. Are there directions in that area as to amendment of those provisions?
We are even increasing the fines and penalties for people who flout those laws in terms of how much is spent on elections. But the issue is, let's be sincere to ourselves, it's easy to track. Because most people that spend for election don't even spend directly. Many people spend on your behalf. You know how much money goes.
But we need to create a system to be able to...
We're looking at it. Look, we all have to agree on this together. Because we're a member of the National Assembly doesn't give us the overall knowledge.
Your own oversight. Your own oversight, Honorable. You are in Ondo, you are in Edo to play as members of the parliament to play oversight on the election and see what INEC did. Did you ask INEC, have they gotten a report on monies that are spent in those two elections, on whether or not, even in after the 2023 general election, if the political parties have submitted their audited account as prescribed by the law?
You see, most of the issues is most of the time when we have some of these laws, we don't usually have consequences, and those are the things we are amending in the law now. Sometimes they tell you should do this, but
INEC is the regulator.
What I'm saying, even INEC is the regulator.
If a political party fails to submit its audited account, is not being able to give account to the Nigerian people and the political parties of the money they spend.
In this amendment, we realize that most of the time, most of these issues don't have consequences. Those are the things we are now putting. For example, the law says you must submit your party membership register to INEC a month before the primaries. But they never said if you don't, what happens. That was why Obi was able to contest and get away with it. Because the law says but Obi joined less than a month to the primaries, even a week to the primaries of Labour Party. But because the law did not say this is what will happen. But now, if you do that in the next election, you will be disqualified. And any party that does not submit is registered will not participate in the primaries.
So we should be expecting robust electoral.
And we'll carry you along, because we need to carry the media along, because what we need more is information, dissemination. And even in that area, we are even trying to remove the voters' education aspect of INEC to NOAA. We are already talking to now to see orientation agency, so that you have the capacity to handle this, so that INEC will be able to face election matters alone.
Thank you so much, Honorable Adebayo Balogun, who is the chair of the House Committee on Electoral Matters. Thank you so much indeed for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
That's our show for tonight, everyone. Many thanks for being part of it. I'm Sean Kimale. God bless Nigeria.